What's going on, boys? Thanks to our patrons and Fiverr customers, subscribe to our Patreon free for behind-the-scenes stuff. Arm yourselves, life stuff. Looksmaxxing has been interesting to me for a while now, but now I want to talk about it. We're still not at 30 seconds. I want to talk about it now because there is a certain, maybe handicapped, retarded sort of person who has been making, or who have been making, lots of videos about Looksmaxxing now, in the negative. And it's always the same sort of fucking moralizer person doing this. Not just talking about Looksmaxxing, but talking about all kinds of shit that's none of their business. I was thinking about this earlier. I'm afraid our generation is going to be the next censorship generation. The pearl clutchers. We already are the pearl clutchers, in large part, but I think it's going to get worse. And that's really frustrating. Especially because all these people who actively attempt to censor shit are the same sorts of people who act like they're these freedom fighters fighting censorship. The gymnastics, it's hard to get my head around. I'm not that mentally limber. Because what other people do is none of your business, even if it is entirely negative to them and to other people. It's a consequence of the new rise of the Abrahamics. People can't mind their business or even keep it at disdain and ostracism if you feel like going that route. It's always some call to action. People really dislike Looksmaxxing. And I think there are a few reasons for that. First and foremost, because it works. People hate the truth more than anything else. And with Looksmaxxing, the truth it speaks to is, ironically, not very pretty. There are a few uncomfortable truths the effectiveness of Looksmaxxing speaks to. First, shallowness. People don't want to believe they're shallow because that's scary, that makes them feel like a bad person. And today, the only thing there are a few things people want. One of those things is to feel like they're a good person and to be recognized as a good person. Proof that you're shallow works against that. They also don't want it to be true because they don't like feeling judged or knowing they are judged. I think they do know they are judged, but they don't want to be as conscious of it. They also don't want to have to deal with competition from other people who are willing to put in work or take risks. They won't. And I think the last uncomfortable truth is not everyone can be a 10. And in addition to the competition, that might be the most painful truth. The fact you're in a competition you have no choice but to be in, and you can't do much about it, or you can do only so much about it. So these flashy moralizer channels, and this isn't a left thing or a right thing, it seems to be coming from everywhere. And I think we're going to see something similar. You remember how everybody hated Incelcore at the start, and then after a couple years, they changed it into E-Punk, and now it's very popular among everybody? Because Incelcore, the music and the aesthetics, they're both good, it's just an icky, spooky, scary foreign concept, until they can castrate it effectively. Those sorts of people are the people who hate Looksmaxxing. Everybody seems to, but it's a popular thing to hate. So they use all of the usual tactics. It's shallow to focus on appearances unless I dislike you, in which case it matters a lot for you in the negative. That shit, the people who feel challenged by competition rising from a strategy they don't want to use. So they push the easy, simple bullshit. Everybody has a simple answer for everything. So instead of looking at the results and realizing if they want to stay competitive, maybe they need to change, they will attack the rising competition or the strategy of the competition. Anything to keep the responsibility of outcomes away from yourself. Anything to keep you and others believing you, with your simple answer and no results, are on the right track, even though evidently that isn't the case. And this is one of the reasons I'm skeptical of most of these, or this entire self help dogma. They'll sell you simple, easy shit that doesn't work, but you buy it because you have hope and because you don't have to do a lot, and you pollute the people around you with it. You make it even easier to sell. But then finally, something comes along that works, an actual way to improve yourself, and everybody hates that. People make me sick, and I hope one day we are in a position to take advantage of them. Now, I don't Looksmaxx very hard, but there is a lot of useful, interesting stuff you can apply to yourself. And I think Looksmaxxing is most valuable, actually, when you are totally aware you won't be a 10 even if you do all this stuff. Because that's a hole you can fall in. Even without Looksmaxxing, people who are somewhat aware of this stuff fall into this hole. The idea that no matter what you do, you'll never be at the top, so why do anything? Especially when the people who are at the very, very top oftentimes are there naturally. Literal heights they are born to, heights you'll never achieve. My thinking is you don't need to be a 10 to separate yourself from the bottom. Health markers are fascinating. They make a lot of sense. Markers that indicate how healthy you are, how fit you are for breeding. However, my thinking, and another fun thing about this, one of the reasons I enjoy paying attention to Looksmaxxing stuff, is there is a tasty bro science element to it. And I love bro science. Why would you be a science-based lifter, a freak, a mutant, when you could be a sage, a mysticism-based lifter? Science-based lifters might have more mass, they might look more shredded, but in my experience, bro science lifters look a lot better. They look a lot healthier. Because you aren't reading a book or examining blood work, you are in communion with your body. Anyway, I don't think it's all health markers. I think it's fittest markers. Health markers are part of fittest markers, but a lot of shit goes into determining who is the fittest. And evolutionarily, I didn't even stumble on that, healthiest is not always what is fittest. I always think back to these hogs, these damn hogs with their horns that, if left to grow, not broken off, will eventually grow into their own skulls and kill them. That's not super healthy, but that is what evolution defined as fittest. And within Looksmaxxing, there is a lot of blackpilling or dismissing of the part wealth or status play into not just attracting women, but because that's another thing, Looksmaxxing. I don't think it's necessarily even mostly about attracting women. It's about rising as a being using superficialities. Now, they actually aren't superficial, but it's perception. Well, you need to have it, but also you need to be perceived to have it. Otherwise, it's no good. It's like one of the best pieces of advice I've ever received from, we haven't done typology in a while, but an ENFJ of all people. This was in university. Dude tried to radicalize me. He said it's not about being a good person or doing good deeds. It's about being seen to be a good person and being seen to do good deeds. Being and doing these things is all well and good, but you need to be recognized. Otherwise, it doesn't matter. Now, why do I bring up wealth? I'm not suggesting you go the beta buxing route, because that's a strategy, but it's kind of pathetic. To me, Looksmaxxing encompasses everything. You are building up what you are in a bunch of different areas, and also building your recognition at the same time. And this is why I say I don't think you should dwell on the fact you won't be a 10 if you aren't born a 10. It's gotten bad enough being a natural physical 10 is not good enough. And even within this whole package scheme, you'll still probably not be the best complete package, or even second, third, or fourth, or 10th. But there's more room for you to compete than you think there is, especially if you're a dude. Because while it's not like the pickup artists, or even Patrice kind of, but Patrice was aware that looks played a part. It's not that looks play no role. Looks play a very big role. But as a dude, you have a wider array of looks you can pull off. It's, and this seems to be a pattern with everything, it's men are variability. There are more builds, and more builds are accepted if we're thinking about this like a game. Now, women have more builds than people act like they do, but admittedly, achieving one of these different peaks as a woman is more difficult. As a dude, it's difficult, but it's accepted. Expected, even, depending on what you're going for. And that goes even further when you remember the Patrice point that does hold up, that women are not men. You can be an attractive fat guy. You can be an attractive little dude. Harder, but you have clear archetypes that scaffold you if you are willing to fit yourself to them, or to embody them, or channel them, whatever. What I mean is, unless you are beyond fucked, you have paths forward more than you think you do, and on top of that, a big part of what you're doing is separating yourself from the competition, and most dudes don't do shit, and or they think it's over. So maybe as a complete package, you upgrade yourself from a 2 to a 4, that puts you above all the other 2s, and then you also, in competition with you right now, are, let's say, 6s who, believing it's over, have allowed themselves to slide down into being 4s. And in that competition, a 4 that is visibly elevating itself versus a 4 that is visibly slipping, the elevating one has the edge. Because ultimately this is a fitness game. And I don't know how or why this is the case, but whatever you think about people and the world, however you feel about yourself, existence can detect when you are competing in the fitness game. I'll give you an example. On O&A, there was Homeless Mustard. He was the guy who did the Creep cover. That was pretty good. Homeless. Rough. Well, he used to do a podcast. He got out of homelessness, and he might still be doing it. I don't know. I didn't keep up with him. It was one of those weird podcasts. Anyway, still looked rough. But, and not in good shape either. Fucked up physically. But he wore, and fat as shit. He wore clothes that fit, and it didn't super suit him. It was the hipster thing, the stomp, clap, hey fit. If I remember correctly, it was a button-up shirt, tie, some kind of vest, and a newsboy cap. Ivy cap, flat cap. It didn't change what he was, but you could see and feel the aspiration, the elevation. And in spite of your own eyes, looks better. And that's just clothes on a homeless dude. Formerly homeless dude. When you get more into Looksmaxxing, you become more aware of how to emphasize what works for you or what you have going for you physically. And it's not just going into the gym and working out. An example: I hate my face, but I have nicer hair than most people do. So I grow it long, and at night I bind it because it's thick hair. It's nice, long, lustrous hair. Even when it's long, it likes to stick out. So when I bind it, after showers, sleep, unbind it, it flares out like feathers. I take the emphasis away from my face and put it on my hair, and I get compliments on my hair regularly. My eyes. Again, hate, hate my face structure. But my lashes are very long. My eyes are green. I have the Johnny Sack eye bags thing going on. I choose glasses that emphasize my eyes. And it's not that you're doing sleight of hand shit. It's not like you're being tricky. If something is fucked up about you, people will see it. You can't hide it, but you can fight it and make yourself look the way you're supposed to look, let's say. An example with dudes. You have kind of a weird dwarfy look. You don't try to make yourself look attractive or sound attractive or act attractive according to traditional beauty standards. You go dwarf mode. You build ridiculous forearms, you dress a little scraggly, maybe you get a dwarfy type job, which is probably where you'll end up anyway, because that's another fucked thing is it feels like appearances a lot of the time place you where you look like you're supposed to be, which is another reason you dress for the job you want, not the job you have, within reason. You aren't undoing your weird dwarfy look. You are leaning into it and looking the way you're supposed to look. And then on top of that, you have that intangible competing to be the fittest edge. You won't be the fittest, but you'll at least be a competitor. I don't know how that works psychically, but it is something you can feel. I deal with a lot of people day to day. Most people suck, most people don't matter even if they're supposed to matter, but then occasionally you will meet people and you don't know why exactly, you don't know how, sometimes it's physical, sometimes it isn't, but you can feel people who matter versus the leagues of people who don't. And a physically ugly person who is competing, even though they're still ugly, maybe their methods suck, but you can feel a difference. You can feel that this is not an NPC. And that's a world of difference. That's more competitive than you think it is. And depending on how you view Looksmaxxing, either way that's a win. Because if you're doing it for general elevation, you are elevating. By merit of the fact people can feel you are elevating or trying to elevate, even if they hate you for it, you are imposing your energy on them. They can feel it. And if you're doing it strictly to attract partners, I'll give you a woman example. The popular dudes in my high school all shit on this one girl in particular. Nerd. And I don't mean in the fashionably nerdy way, I mean in the looks kind of weird, does the Finn backpack thing, kind of retarded. But among, probably among a lot of the popular dudes too, but everybody else, there was something about her, and it was probably her ass and her hair. Lots of people were really into her, even though she wasn't, quotes, attractive by traditional beauty standards. Her hair was fucked up, she's kind of goofy, bad teeth, which is another one I didn't appreciate enough, by the way. Teeth are a big deal, and taking care of your teeth is easy. Getting braces, even if your teeth are really fucked up, you can save for them. It's a money thing, it's a status thing, teeth are. If you're, oh boy, someone can be super attractive and super wealthy, but if their teeth are fucked up, they're done. that's something you can work on relatively easily. Anyway, this girl wasn't supposed to be hot, but lots of people viewed her as extraordinarily hot. I don't know what it is, and this is what I mean when I talk about looksmaxing or my idea of self-improvement. It's not strictly trying to look one certain way. It's trying to make yourself as complete of a desirable package as possible, because desirability is weird. Back when I was much younger, back when I was super shockingly bad looking, not trying at all, I had a partner who was very attracted to me because I was white and my face looked a certain way. And I think that's phenotypes. I haven't looked into phenotypes that much. My point is, if we're talking about individual attraction, you don't need to elevate yourself into somebody who can hit every single target. All you need to do is be able to hit the targets you want to hit. And if we're talking generally, any level of elevation will be better, leave you better, than where you are right now. And you have more wiggle room to do this than you think you do, and your trying at all will. It's like Dragon Ball. I'm a huge Dragon Ball fan. I don't watch it. Kaioken, that multiplies shit, right? That's the multiplier thing. Just trying multiplies any effort you make. And you can do all this without taking any big risks. When you get into surgery, that's spooky to me, but that's not something to be shit on. Because when it works, it works. That's a risk someone took, and it paid off. That is a decision you need to make. But you can do a lot once you're aware of the game you're playing, and you can get far without having to do anything risky, without having to take any big risks. You can do a lot without having to take any big risks. And I think that about covers it. Looksmaxxing, it's something losers like to hate. And it's something with more levels than you're led to believe there are. And it's something you can and should do, will benefit from, without taking any big risks. I am no expert by any means, but it's something you shouldn't write off. It's something you should probably look into. Like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you haven't.